In the golden light of the market, there lived a woman whose spirit was as bright as the colors she wore. They called her the Silent Fighter. Not because she used her fists, but because her strength came from the quiet rhythm of her heart. For years, she carried the secrets of the Motherland in her smile, waiting for the day her true story would finally be told. This is that story, a journey of sweetness, struggle, and the music that lives inside us all. The marketplace was her sanctuary, a place where the air smelled of spice and the earth hummed underfoot, while others bartered and shouted. The Silent Fighter listened. She listened to the wind in the trees and the wisdom of the elders. People saw her beauty, but they didn't see the fire burning in her soul. She knew that true power wasn't about being the loudest in the room. It was about being the one who stood firm when the storms came. Every morning before the sun touched the horizon, she was there. She didn't need words to command respect. Her presence was enough. They watched her move with a grace that hid a warrior's heart. Some said she was protecting a legacy. Others said she was running from a past only she could remember. But as the drums began to fade and the shadows grew long, the village began to realize that the silent woman was the only one who could save them. But the silence she held wasn't just a choice, it was a shield. Deep in the heart of the village, an old legend was waking up. They spoke of a lost melody that could either heal the land or tear it apart. The Silent Fighter knew where it was hidden. She knew that the rhythm she carried in her footsteps was the key. But to find it, she would have to face the one thing she feared most, her own past. Guided by the fading light, she found herself at the edge of the Whispering Falls. Legend said the melody was trapped behind the water, waiting for a heart brave enough to claim it. She took a deep breath, the mist cooling her skin. She didn't need to see the path to know it was there. She simply followed the beat of her own drum, stepping into the unknown where the silence was loudest. The path was narrow, carved by generations of those who came before. With every step, the marketplace felt further away, and the destiny of the Motherland felt closer. She wasn't just walking. She was reclaiming a legacy. The air grew still, as if the world itself was holding its breath to see what the Silent Fighter would do next. Behind the curtain of water, she found a hidden chamber. The walls were covered in ancient symbols that glowed with a soft, golden light. In the center sat a single, wooden flute, carved from a tree that had stood since the beginning of time. This was the source of the melody. As her fingers touched the cool wood, a memory flooded her. A song her mother used to sing to her when the world felt too loud. She realized then that she wasn't just a fighter. She was a keeper of the light. She didn't need to be a musician to know what to do. She brought the flute to her lips and blew a single, clear note. The sound echoed through the chamber, vibrating in her very bones. It wasn't just a sound, it was a prayer. Outside the cave, the birds fell silent, and the wind stopped. For the first time in years, the heavy weight on her chest began to lift. She wasn't just fighting for her village anymore. She was finally fighting for herself. But as the music filled the air, a shadow moved at the entrance of the cave. She wasn't alone. Someone had followed her from the marketplace. Someone who wanted the melody for their own power. The Silent Fighter lowered the flute, her heart racing. She had found her voice, but now she would have to protect it. She stood tall, her silhouette dark against the glowing walls, ready to show the world that a silent heart is the hardest one to break. The figure stepped into the light, and her heart nearly stopped. It was a face from her past, someone she thought she had left behind long ago. They didn't come with weapons, but with words designed to make her doubt herself. "You think a song can change anything?" They sneered. The Silent Fighter didn't answer with words. She simply held the flute tighter. She knew that the truth didn't need to shout to be heard. The battle wasn't going to be fought with noise. It was going to be fought with peace. She closed her eyes and thought of the marketplace, the colors, and the people she loved. She realized that her power didn't come from the flute, but from the resilience she had built over a lifetime of silence. The shadow stepped closer, but she didn't flinch. Instead, she began to hum the melody. It was a soft, steady sound that filled the chamber with warmth. The shadow froze, unable to move against the purity of her spirit. For the first time, the silent fighter felt truly free. As the humming grew louder, the golden symbols on the walls began to pulse like a heartbeat. The shadow that had followed her started to fade, unable to stand in the presence of such honest light. It wasn't magic that defeated the darkness, it was the strength of a woman who finally knew her own worth. The flute in her hand felt light as a feather. She turned away from the chamber and began her walk back, toward the world she knew. But she wasn't returning as the same woman who had left. The marketplace was waiting for its fighter. In T's time, she was bringing the song of the motherland back with her. As she crested the final hill, the lights of the marketplace appeared like fallen stars against the dark earth. She could hear the distant sound of the village, the laughter, the clinking of pots, the life she had always known. But for the first time, she didn't feel like a stranger in her own home. She felt like its heartbeat. She walked through the gates with her head held high. The people stopped and stared, sensing a change they couldn't quite name. She didn't say a word, but as she passed, the air seemed to grow warmer, and the shadows seemed to pull back. The silent fighter had returned, and she had brought the peace of the mountains with her. Suddenly, the first drumbeat echoed through the square. It was a rhythm she knew by heart, the pulse of the ancestors. One by one, the village drummers joined in, the hands moving in a blur of motion. The silent fighter closed her eyes and began to move. Her dance wasn't a performance. It was a conversation with the earth itself. The people began to gather, their voices rising in a harmony that matched the beat. They saw her strength now, not as something hidden, but as something shared. The marketplace transformed into a sea of color and sound. In that moment, the village wasn't just a place of trade. It was a place of triumph. The song of the motherland was finally being sung out loud. The fire in the center of the village crackled, sending sparks dancing into the night sky. The silent fighter sat among the children, the wooden flute resting in her lap. She didn't need to fight battles with a blade anymore. She was fighting them with wisdom. She told them that silence isn't a lack of strength, but the place where strength is grown. She taught them that the motherland lives in the way we treat one another, and in the songs we carry when no one is listening. The village was changing. The greed and the noise were being replaced by the steady, calm rhythm she had brought back from the falls. The legacy was finally safe, and her heart was finally at rest. Years passed, and the silent fighter became the grandmother of the village. She didn't spend her days in the marketplace anymore, but under the great baobab tree. Every afternoon, a circle of young girls would gather at her feet, their eyes wide with wonder. They didn't just see an old woman. They saw a living legend, a map of where they came from and who they could become. She taught them how to listen to the earth, how to find the rhythm in the rain, and how to stand tall when the world tried to make them small. The wooden flute was passed from her hands to theirs, a torch of peace that would never go out. The motherland was no longer just a place on a map. It was a fire burning in the hearts of the next generation. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of purple and gold, the silent fighter took her final walk to the edge of the village. She looked back at the life she had built to the marketplace that was now peaceful, the children who were now strong, and the music that was now everywhere. She realized that her journey was never about winning. It was about remaining true. She left the flute on a stone for the next keeper to find. As she stepped into the shadows of the forest, she didn't disappear. She became part of the wind, the soil, and the song. Her story would be told for 1,000 years, a reminder that even the quietest soul can shake the world. The motherland was finally, and forever, at peace. Thank you for staying until the very end. This story was made for everyone who carries the spirit of the motherland in their heart. If you found peace or strength in these words, it means the journey was worth it. We have many more stories to tell, and we would love for you to be a part of our village. Please subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you never miss a new story. Like this video and comment below with your favorite part of the silent fighter's journey. Your support helps us keep these traditions alive. Until next time, stay strong and stay peaceful. Subscribe for more.